So picture this. Before Warren Buffett gives away his entire $100 billion fortune, he sits down to write one final letter, and inside, his very last instructions for the world.
You gotta wonder, right? What kind of wisdom does one of the richest people on the planet pack into a $100 billion letter?
Well, what might surprise you is what it's not about. This isn't some final, teary-eyed love letter.
And nope, it's definitely not about romance either.
It was about one thing and one thing only: money. And his instructions reveal this brutal simplicity that made him a legend.
You'd think it would be super complex, right? But no, his actual plan was just 2 simple steps. I mean, the letter literally starts with these 3 words. He's basically saying, forget all the fancy trusts, forget the Wall Street bankers. His core principle was just keep it simple.
And here it is, the whole plan, right from his will. Put 90% of the money in a super low-cost S&P 500 index fund. The other 10%, short-term government bonds. That's it, for a $100 billion fortune. Crazy, right?
Look, Buffett could have hired literally anyone in the world, but he chose to ignore them all. Why? Because he knew the financial industry makes its money from complexity and sky-high fees, while real, lasting wealth, that's built on simplicity and discipline.
In this simple plan, it wasn't just some random idea he had. Nope, it was built on 5 core truths he learned over an entire lifetime of investing.
His thinking here is just brilliant. It all starts with playing defense, avoid fees, ignore the so-called experts. Then you go on offense, trust in time, trust in compounding, and make a long-term bet on the American economy. And the final rule kind of ties it all together. Don't try to be clever, just stick to the plan.
What's really fascinating is that Buffett applied this exact same thinking not just to his money, but to his family and to his life in general.
I mean, his advice to families was pretty radical. He said, let your kids read your will before you die. And you have to ask why, right? Well, it's because resentment grows in silence, and he knew from experience that love, it rarely survives a lawsuit. For Buffett, transparency was the only inheritance that truly, truly mattered.
And this might be his most famous rule for life. The goal isn't to get rid of struggle, it's to give your kids enough of a foundation to find their own purpose, not just a big cushion to do nothing.
You know, when you step back and look at his whole life, this is the real secret. His genius wasn't in adding more complexity. It was in his relentless, almost brutal focus on just subtracting everything that didn't matter.
So that kind of leaves us with one last question to think about. In our own lives, could it be that the real secret to success isn't found in what we add, but in what we have the courage to get rid of?